What's going on, guys? Kevin Cage here with another crypto update. I hope you enjoyed today's video. This is super important. So first up, shared by RippleX. They've identified a discrepancy in a few AMM pools in which transactions are not executing as intended. Their engineering team is working to resolve the issue alongside community participants. Out of an abundance of caution, it's best not to deposit new funds into the AMM pools for now. And those holding LP tokens, consider redeeming them. We'll provide updates on this thread as soon as possible. So we saw this come out last night. It is super important if you are on Twitter, which you should be if you are in the crypto space, just to get updates and follow teams' developments directly. It's important to put the notifications on so we can keep tabs on this. We're going to dive a lot more into recent news for a variety of projects and future videos, but this is arguably more important than all of that. That is what the Bitcoin price chart does. Of course, it's important to follow the fundamentals of a project, looking at its funding, its team, its dev activity, its partnerships, its applications that they're building and what they have live, and which applications are getting the most traction. And fundamental news and developments can absolutely serve as a catalyst for price action, but just looking at history, these markets move in cycles, multi-year bear market bull run. And yes, the future can always be different, but because of the 10 plus years of price history seeing these cycles, I believe we rhyme again. And that is just my opinion for anybody new. Absolutely anything is possible in the crypto asset class. There are always narratives in every single market, both good and bad. But for the highest ROI, for the highest number of alts, that typically requires Bitcoin pushing well into all-time highs. See my cursor right there? Not that first wick, we came down a little bit and then got that initial push. So we are seeing plenty of similarities to previous cycles with where we're at today. Bitcoin rose, altcoin market rose with it. Bitcoin wicked into an all-time high price. Candle bodies actually right there, the weekly on that previous high. We've come back down thus far. We're going to look at the last two cycles because it looks super similar. And then eventually, as Bitcoin finally drew that first monster candle into all-time highs, a weekly candle, the altcoin market, or total three, excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum, a few weeks later started following behind Bitcoin, blasting in all-time highs with its first major weekly candle into all-time highs 63 days later. Now we're going to run through this super quick for the previous Bitcoin cycles versus today to show the number of similarities and confluences. So these are a few things I've shared for a while, and I just put it all together to hopefully clean things up. Did we retrace to the 618 Fibonacci retracement from the cycle top to the cycle low? In 2016 we did, right to the 618. This is on the Bitstamp Bitcoin US dollar price chart. 2019 we also wicked up to the 618. In 2024, from the cycle high to the cycle low, we also wicked to the 618. Next up, for the monthly RSI for the Bitcoin US dollar price chart, when we crossed 70 into overbought for the momentum, did we create an all-time high price? Yes. We have bull run, bear market, every single time, right there 70. When the RSI on the monthly time frame has gone above and closes on a monthly scale, we have always headed to an all-time high. We've done this for over 10 years. Here, right there, all-time high, right there, all-time high, right there, all-time high. Even there, when we had bearish divergence, this was still another all-time high. And we just did it again in 2024. And same thing for this. I originally shared this back in September. I did do a newer chart to show you the number of days it took. Looking at the last three cycles from cycle high to cycle low, drawing a fib retracement, every time we've drawn a full weekly candle, the wick and the entire candle body above the 50%, we have historically headed directly to an all-time high price without any major crash back into reaccumulation at the lows. 2013, we did this in 28 days into an all-time high. 2016, about 98 days. Notice, this was never a full close over the 50% where it was right there. We have 2020, we finally got the full close, whether you want to consider that or that, and then consider those wicks anywhere from 35 to 49 days. Once it got the full close over the 0.5 or 50% Fibonacci retracement, these candles were a fake out. We had wicks on this level or below. Right there, we had candle bodies rejecting this level. These wicks never closed above. We did there. And in 2024, we had our first candle well above this level. Whether it's this candle or the following candle, they are both above. And just an update for 2024, when we got this full close, it took about 35 days. So that's another confluence because that was in the range of the previous three cycles, 28 to 98 days. And we also have this. This is the monthly Bitcoin price chart measuring the length of the cycles of the peak of the momentum, the monthly RSI right there, until we broke into a new all-time high price. So I know this is the first cycle in history where Bitcoin has at least wicked into an all-time high price before the halving, but there are so many other similarities. We can see 1,096 days. This is the same length as the previous cycle. The peak of the RSI, not the peak of the price, and notice that same length took us to all-time highs. So that's why I said right here back in January, measuring these cycles, originally sharing this back in November, we can see if we followed the length of either of these two cycles, that would be between March to July of 2024 for a new all-time high. There are a bunch of other charts. We're going to touch on the BVOL super quick because this is important, but just looking at when Bitcoin originally broke into all-time highs during the previous cycles. In 2017, we got to an all-time price for a few days, crashed back down, and then later blasted in the new highs about 2 months later. So after creating an all-time price, playing around, falling back down, 2 months later we blasted even higher. 2020 was a lot shorter. Notice we got a little micro wick into all-time highs, came back down, and then 17 days later we blasted much higher, so 2 to 3 weeks. We have a similar structure that we just saw on March 8th, wicking into new highs. So here's the Bitcoin daily price chart. We broke into all-time highs, got up to 73, almost 74K. We've come back down thus far, so whether you want to consider that first wick into all-time highs on March 8th or maybe that first daily candle on March 11th. If we are to rhyme with the 2017 or 2020 cycle, that means that we should be blasting up and out of here either between now and even sometime in May. And we've also shared the BVOL. This is the Bitcoin Historical Volatility Index. So here's when Bitcoin was at a cycle top in 2017, this purple circle. We can see 2021 when Bitcoin found its top in November of 2021. Bitcoin's volatility at cycle tops was a lot higher, ranging from anywhere from 50 to 100 plus. So at least over the past few weeks, we have seen the BVOL starting to wake up, getting up to 27. We're at 15, 16, 18 for a while. The weekly RSI is piercing. For my personal expectation, if Bitcoin is going to go much higher before finding its cycle top, I expect this volatility index to be above 50. And super high level right here, shout out to Roth IRA because he's been sharing this for a long time, showing these 3 things occur during these same years. The Bitcoin halvings, the US elections, and really global elections for the most part, and the debt refi cycle or business cycle that he's explained on YouTube before. So Bitcoin halvings, the purple circles on this price chart for Bitcoin over the past 10 years. The Bitcoin block rewards are cut in half. We have elections typically resulting in stimulus years and money entering the economy, also a huge correlation with global liquidity rising. In the debt refi cycle or business cycle, so all of these are aligned during the same year. And I also shared the exact clip in the video. This was uploaded by Coin Bureau with Raoul Pal and Tim Draper. So you can find this video on Coin Bureau's YouTube channel. I uploaded this back in January, and this is the video I did right there. So we can see the Bitcoin price chart's performance during this time or after this year, and it's typically very strong. So whether this is a coincidence or not, I thought it was very interesting. Now what I care about is the altcoin market, because when Bitcoin gets that first major move and is pushing well into all-time highs, we historically see the highest ROI for alts that is typically a lot more than Bitcoin. Even during last cycle, Bitcoin blasted into all-time highs, at least its first major move, December 14th of 2020 during that week. It climbed from 20K to 40K, almost 50,000, and by that time, when Bitcoin was between 40 to 50K, the altcoin market finally took off into all-time highs. We saw similar things occur during the previous 2 cycles during bull runs when Bitcoin is blasting into all-time highs. Bitcoin led the show for a while. But the higher the Bitcoin price chart goes first, even if it stalls a little bit, that is the moment for the altcoin market to catch up. Quick example, this is the week when Bitcoin blasted into all-time highs. HBAR didn't do anything initially. Bitcoin was stealing the show. HBAR didn't take off for a few weeks later, and we even arguably crashed another 20%. And there are other examples of assets crashing 30%, even 50%, while Bitcoin was pushing well into 20K up to 30K. But after Bitcoin was well into all-time highs, we had a variety of assets absolutely explode. If this cycle were to rhyme with the previous cycle, that is what I'm looking for. That is not financial advice. Nobody knows the exact future. I'm looking at the weekly price chart and the monthly price chart for Bitcoin, comparing cycles and just showing my rationale. Now, every single chart is going to be different, and every single alt draws a little bit differently. Sometimes they're in sync, and it seems like they're running on a similar algorithm, but they are different. So some may crash, some may pump, and some may go sideways. So notice here, Bitcoin blasted an all-time highs last cycle. HBAR started drawing some waves, breaking out of accumulation, taking out this previous high. Consolidating back on this level, drawing a little higher, consolidating, and then drawing higher. When we look at HBAR today, we can see up here, we broke out of accumulation. What has this pullback done thus far? We can see here, we tested it, came back down, and now we have back tested this exact same level. So let me just emphasize right there, this arrow all the way across. We challenged it, and now we're back testing. So we are out of accumulation for the HBAR price chart. So structurally, there are a lot of similarities. And here we have the DAG price chart. Bitcoin blasted into highs, DAG crashed another 40%, didn't do anything for 60 days until we finally broke out of accumulation, taking out these highs. What about Filecoin last cycle? Bitcoin blasted right here during this week on December 14th. Filecoin trended sideways, even crashed another 30%, and then finally started blasting maybe 2 months later, taking out this previous high, coming back, consolidating, and then boom. So this is an example of how some alts operated last cycle. And so far in this year, we've had different assets already push into an all-time high price. We saw this last cycle. So for example, Chainlink, during this bear market, 2018, 2019, 2020, Bitcoin didn't particularly do well, although we had a retracement. Chainlink was breaking into all-time highs in 2019. It consolidated, broke into all-time highs in June of 2020. And then later, as Bitcoin finally blasted into all-time highs right there, Chainlink went higher, but it was leading the way for other assets well beforehand. And I know that Chainlink's tokenomics, its circulating supply, and its overall market cap were vastly different at the time, but this is an example because we're seeing the same thing this cycle. So throughout the previous cycles, we've seen some assets outperform and even move before Bitcoin in all-time highs. We have seen some assets move with Bitcoin, like Doge, a meme coin, like meme season that we've recently seen. Doge relatively moved with Bitcoin and was blasting off. But we've seen other assets as Bitcoin is getting that first major move into all-time highs with weekly candles and high volume even crash a little bit longer but then play catch up later. So I wanted to share that, and I encourage everybody to go on TradingView. If you're new to the crypto space, you should be on TradingView. There's a completely free version to use. You don't have to know anything about charting. I think it's just important to have a variety of different watch lists, go through assets, and really just study it, because the more you look at it, the more you're going to learn. And friendly reminder, this is not financial advice. We don't know how certain alts are going to react on smaller time frames. Looking at big picture, that's what I prefer to do, but we don't know how they're going to move on the daily, the 4-hour, black swans, positive catalysts, things like that. Looking at the 21 exponential moving average, the EMA, this is the purple line on the chart. During bull runs, we've historically held this level to some degree. It is not perfect. It was very clean in 2016 and 2017 on the way up. In 2020, we did backtest it twice, but we didn't have any significant pullbacks. So I'm just watching that level to see if we are in fact heading much higher for Bitcoin in the future. Currently right around 50,000 today. So I have never seen Bitcoin wick into an all-time high price and not go much higher later during the previous cycles. So that's my expectation. Anything is possible. We'll talk about some big things going on in future videos related to Securitize and BlackRock. And also knowing that Securitize uses a blockchain-agnostic protocol to issue digital securities on Ethereum, Algorand, AVAX, and Polygon. And big thanks to Eugene for sending this over. And will the Ethereum spot ETF be approved? BlackRock filed their application back in November. Many said the Bitcoin spot ETF wouldn't be approved, and then in January we were approved. Now there are valid concerns going on with Ethereum that we shared in previous videos. Is this going to prevent the Ethereum spot ETF from being approved, or is this potentially just some scare tactics going on? There's a lot going on behind the scenes. I don't know the half of it. I do like Ethereum, but ETHgate is a real thing. I do not like the corruption behind it, but I don't want Ethereum to crash because that would affect the crypto asset class in a terrible way. I want the Ethereum spot ETF to be approved so this market can full send. And last but not least, guys, we have iTrustCapital linked in the top of the YouTube video description. I've had a crypto Roth IRA with iTrustCapital since 2020. So I originally rolled over a Roth IRA that was in the S&P 500 years ago into the crypto asset class for tax-free gains. Feel free to check them out. If you do create a free account, you get a $100 funding reward using the link below. Thanks so much for watching, and a huge thank you to all that hit the like button and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. If you enjoyed this video, I'd greatly appreciate if you could hit the like button, let me know your thoughts down below, and my link tree is linked in the top of this YouTube video description, with all links, crypto resources, and discounts. I'll catch you in the next one.